Janet with Try It Like It Create It, and I'm here today with CutCardStock, and what I'm trying to do is create just a pattern on one side of this green paper. This is an 80-pound cardstock, and what I started doing was stamping texture. This was the stamp I used, and I stamped in metallic and I stamped in white, and I'm just not getting quite enough texture. You're seeing it on the camera, but in person it isn't really that dynamic. It's actually pretty subtle. And so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to smush some distressed oxide here onto my glass plate, and we're going to add water and just add these colors onto that paper. So I'm adding 4 colors here in the yellows, blues, which will obviously make greens. So I've got that. Now I'm just going to spray it down with water. And now I'm going to take my paper on top of this and just kind of smush it out and see what we get. And so I'm starting to pick up some color here. I'm going to add some more water to get these to move a little further. And I may even kind of slide or move my paper around, seeing if I can pick up some of that color. All right. So I'm just trying to create some texture on this. So let me go ahead and dry this, and then I'll be back to show you what we have. So this is fairly dry, and now what I'm going to do is take this stamp, and I'm using Shabby Shutters in Distressed Oxide, and I am just going to continue to stamp on this. So I am just trying to build up texture on this page. I don't really, not looking for any certain anything, just texture. Okay, because we're going to cut it up into all different pieces. So smushing, stamping, even spraying. I might do that next. So we're just trying to, like I said, build up texture here. All right, so I have sprayed a really fine mist of the whitish gold on here that's giving it a really nice glitter. And then I took the bottle of gold and took it apart. The spray wasn't working very well, so I just used it to, you know, add drops of gold. And so I am happy with what I have here. I have dried it with a heat tool because we want it to be really dry before we move on. And our next step is going to be to cut out our shapes. Now that your pieces are cut out and scored, what you want to do is fold them in half, and you want to go, you want to fold towards the design, and then using your finger or a bone folder, let me grab mine here, or a bone folder, you want a really nice crisp fold. And if your score line is hard to find, you can fold, you know, this way first so that you can find it, and then fold it in half the other way. And just just press and fold, and do that for all of your pieces. So your next step after folding all of these together is that you're going to glue one and line up one right next to it. All right, and make sure your fold and your edges are seated together well and lined up well. Using wet glue gives you the opportunity to kind of slide things around a little bit, just to make sure everything is right where you want it to be. And so you're going to keep doing this layer on top of layer with the white tacky type glue. And the kind I'm using is called Reptile. I just took it out of the bottle and put it in a new bottle, and I took my fine tip off of it so that I could get a little bit more coverage than what I get with the fine tip. So now I'm just going through making sure everything is lined up before I move on to the next piece, and just keep building those layers. Alright, I just have a few more to go here. And you can do as many layers as you want to build up the detail on this ornament. All right, so now that we have everything glued together, you can see what that ornament is going to look like. And before I go any further, I'm going to first check my sides so I can see, you know, where I'm off or if I'm off, and get that fixed. All right, and then we're going to glue this side, and we're going to run our ribbon, or in this case twine. Now I have added a pearl on the top of mine, and I did this off camera because it's a very slow process to kind of get a fat cord or twine through a very small opening of the pearl. So I did that offline. Now I'm gonna tie a knot there, and I'm gonna cut that excess off, this little tail. All right, and if you want, you can even touch that with some glue, and I think I might, just to hold that in place so it doesn't fly out. See if I can make that small enough for the pearl to sit on. And then we're going to run this along the inside channel here, where I'm going to put my glue on all of these pieces, right, as well as one side, just like all the others. All right, and we're going to run this piece down that channel in the middle, and then close this side up. Okay, aligning everything together. Make sure that pearl is sitting right there at the top. You can pull down on it a little while the glue is still wet. Alright, I'm just going to push on everything. Make sure I have it in place. Alright, pull on that one more time just to get that to seat at the top there. Alright, and then I am going to add either another one or a tassel at the bottom. I haven't completely decided yet, but I'm thinking a tassel might be nice. So let me cut this off, give a generous amount here just to have it in case I need it, and then I will do a tassel and come back and show you what that is going to look like. My first thought was to add another pearl down here and call it done, but I think we could do that with a tassel. So let me try making a tassel, and I'll come back and show that to you. All right, so I have wrapped a bundle of twine around my fingers, 3 fingers actually, 3 fingers like so, a bunch of times. I didn't count, I just did it until it looked like a nice thickness. All right, and then we're going to take the tail of our ornament in through the center and up to the top here, and then we want to tie that off. So I'm going to pull tight from the top and then slide this up here. So I've got that nice and tight. All right, and then I'm going to go around the outside here and grab it. then just let that tail fall down into our tassel. Now our next step, I'm just going to take another piece of twine here, fairly long. All right, and I'm going to make a loop. All right, and so that I know which piece I am using here, I am going to add a little clamp right here. That's overkill for size, but that will help me know where that loop is. And then I'm going to pair this up with my tassel and then take the long piece of my twine and start going around. All right, so this is how we're going to tie off. I want to just make sure I got everything tucked in there well. Okay. All right, so you take that long piece and you're going to wrap it around and make it go side by side. So what I mean here is right here, you're putting, right here, you're putting your strands right next to each other. Okay, and I'm pulling tight. Right, and now that it's thick enough, I can go up or on top of each other a bit. All right, and look to see what that looks like, and I think that's looking pretty good. I'm going to pull tight here just to make sure I've got everything in there. All right, now pay attention that I have this little tab right here that is attached to this loop. All right, and the reason I wanted that loop is because I'm now going to take this tail and go into that loop. All right, so now I'm holding that in the loop, and I'm going to grab this top piece here and pull up, and I'm going to pull and pull and pull, and what that's going to do is it's going to hide those two ends, or that loopy part, into and underneath the wrapping. All right, so now this piece can get cut off. All right, that extra piece that was hanging down just becomes now part of the tassel, and I'm just going to start cutting these loops here. Make sure you get through all of them. All right, and then you can start cutting the ends off to make it even, or to make it look like what you want it to. Spread them out, make sure you've got all the loops cut through. All right, so there is our tassel in our ornament. If you want, you can then take a needle and separate these out. I'll show you what I'm talking about. It takes a bit of work to go in with a needle and go into each thread and undo the twine. So what you're basically doing is going, let me just pull one aside here so you can see. All right, you're going to go into the twine and pull on it with your needle. You may have to start down further. All right, and you can see that I'm untwisting those twines. And what that's going to do is give you a more full tassel at the end. It is time consuming, it is peaceful to do, and you can decide whether or not this is something that you would enjoy doing. Okay, and that would give you a more full feel here at the end.